try once again with FortressCraft Evolved Hardcore on the hardest setting. Not only because third time's a charm, but especially since in Australia, where I live, even the gamers are hardcore. So what we're going to do, as usual, is we're going to run around the place collecting as much data as possible. We're also going to use some of the contextual help. That is exactly what we're supposed to do early game. So anyways, we're going to collect as much resources and research as we can, and we're going to try to make it, and we're going to process and burn off some of what we find in order to progress as quickly as possible. Learning from the previous mistakes on Chernabog and bringing what I've learned and have worked out over to this seed, Cynder Prime, we're going to hopefully progress even faster than we did on Chernabog. So obviously you want to try to keep your scans to a minimum. You want to keep your pings to a minimum as well, because you want to save that precious power for late game, especially for when you get the enriched and crystal infused coal tiers. So what did we do wrong on the previous experiments, you might ask? Well, first up, we charged up our spider bot too much, leaving not enough for high marking turrets. This also left us with less for power blocks, and we tried to advance the power blocks too soon. So we're going to keep them low at Mark 1 for quite a while before we even progress. The other major problem we had on Chernabog is that our main fortress was too small, and so that allowed the wasps and other mobs to get in close enough that they could actually attack the base before being shot down. So we're going to try to build a larger base. So I'm going to be back. Now I'm going to continue gathering resources around here, and then I'll be back at base to show you what I've found and what we can process. 12 minutes, and as you can see, even the low lighting of the supernova above is enough to generate some rudimentary amounts of power, but we're going to use the mandragora and the apple and the bulbul berries to generate our power for now. And that should be just about enough. Well, I suppose I'll be back with you once the power returns to its full level in the research station, and then we can start crafting and researching some recipes. Oh, the black box data is already available for research as I had enough power, but I'm going to need to make some more power before we can get base building and put our forks, which is pretty much of a disappointment, especially as black box. Oh yeah, that's right. The word I'm thinking of here is redundant. But it's no longer redundant. You do need it to research both local life forms and base building. Power to research and to smelt. It's obviously coal, which is why I put an ore extractor right here. And you don't actually need to scan the ore before you research it. But even though it is recommended by the tutorial, I don't know how everyone else who ways FortressCraft Evolved makes this mistake of wasting scanning on the actual scans when they can simply, oh that's right, they're playing on the plentiful energy setting while I'm on scarce setting, and of course on well. Now Cynder Prime isn't unlike any other FortressCraft Evolved feed. See that supernova there as time goes by? For the base game is 500 days, which is how I calculated from 12,000 hours on these scarcest settings, great resources, scarce power, and slow conveyor belts with hard mobs. And I always like to have the hardcore death mode in place, seeing that even the gamers are hardcore here, we all are. But we can very greatly beat this power time of 500 days if we are smart, which I definitely would like to think we were. So we'll use all of that for unlocking all the research scans we have, and we're going to need to generate more power before we can go any further. So I'm just going to craft everything I found these tree trunks into wooden planks, and I'm going to add some coxcombs here for more power, and then I'll be back after I got more resources and of course smelted. So back at the research station with a full power bank, we want to research the cheapest of the scans first. So there we have coal, we now have tin ore, we found a hive core, and one of those is going to be hard resin. We will need soft resin if we want to process the hardened resin. Just add. So back here, and I actually decided to save some power from ore smelting on research, and in a moment I will be taking you to a huge cave that I found. So just as we got lucky on Chernabog, we've gotten lucky on Cynder Prime. Now here. And look how deep it goes. Its lowest point almost approaches the cold caverns. We're going to need to dig a little deeper just to get there though, or we might be able to get even luckier than on Chernabog and find some more cave systems that will take us even lower to about 200 meters, which is where I think the cold cave but for now, we're going to need to stick to the process actually blocking our ability to precisely locate what I believe was an iron ore vein. So we now have the diamond focusing lens transmitted, but I never unlock those for various reasons. For instance, the diamonds can actually be put to far better use, and of course, it's the emeralds that are the most useful, considering the progression curve, and it is just a wonder just how much progress you can make in a matter of just half an hour, even at the scarcest resource settings. Even on eternal night, you can make it this far. So I'll be back after I've processed through what we have copper around here. And if you don't believe me, yeah, almost 3/4 of the ore from this part of the scan is copper, but this is coal, which you can tell because it actually extends above minus, but it won't. We can muster around here. Copper here, and of course, look at how abundant that is. Almost a million. We've got almost a million copper in that vein alone. So I'll reach back at the surface. What I really should be doing is making a safe way down this shaft. Give us all the room we need to find that iron ore and the lithium ore that we'll also need for our power grid. So I'm going to stop researching for now so that this hub can build up power, and I'm going to go back to that huge cavern to look for the iron and the lithium that we seek. It cannot be far. I'm pretty sure some more ore. They say that idle hand is just so happens that there has been another type of ore down here that I haven't yet scanned or even picked up. Come on. Fucking thing's frozen. It turns out that there is some lithium nearby as well, which one can tell clearly from the fact that there are two. Yes, of course. Yeah, we're not deep enough yet. So, by going further down, we will eventually come into the lithium level, which it should be around about here. So I'll go back up there and research the scan of iron ore that I found, and then I'll see what I can do with regards to finding lithium after I recharge. At the research station, we have the organic rock, and this is definitely going to be the iron that we had scanned earlier. I don't know why oh yeah, so we got to put a third ore extractor where there is tin. Or we could go and find some lithium. Well, we better start really extracting copper, tin and iron first before we try to put a fourth ore extractor on some lithium, which I'm pretty sure we are not far away from, considering how deep that cavern went. So obviously I'm going to need to recuperate as well as recharge after that bad day and trying to get out of the caves. Things can really go wrong if you overuse the grappling hook, which is precisely why I recommend that you install elevators and stairways as early as possible. From power to unlock the iron ore research, and we are going to get straight into assembly line machines. And we're going to need this iron gear maker and a lightweight machine housing crafter right off the bat. So I'll unlock those. We'll also need the lithium core charger early on as well. We're going to also get suit upgrading as early on as possible, as well as basic mining upgrades part 1. We're also going to need a power grid early on if we are to set up our defenses anytime soon, which we'll definitely need if we are to survive any better on Cynder Prime than we did on Chernabog. But until then, I guess I'm gonna go and get some copper, tin and iron, and I'll be back when I have enough to make our first few milestones. So, it is way down here that we should be able to find some lithium. Looks like we may have found veins. Sometimes some people call them seams, others veins, and others deposits. I don't know why that is. Again, and yeah, it's definitely around here. So we'll leave the vein alone for now. It looks like there's a wealth of lithium down there, so we're yeah, we definitely got lucky on Cynder Prime, haven't we? Haven't we, folks? So, I'm going to go back up to the surface and recharge, and then I'm going to come overloaded with power and we're having trouble extracting the resources, so what we're going to do is simply unlock the power grid, basic mining upgrades, local life forms that we need more power to unlock the research. We'll straight away get the basic drill motor because we'll need that early on. We won't need the Mark 1 power core charger just yet because we don't actually need to make the induction charger until much later. If we're lucky, we can actually start on the invasions on the 4th day. That would be before 96 hours have elapsed. At the moment, we've only been around on Cynder Prime for that, looking good from there. At this point, we're going to start investing in more hoppers because we have the resources. I know these are only mini hoppers, but they will come in and hash these to the existing ore extractors until, of course, we can build the copper storage hoppers. Then until we build conveyors. We start with basic conveyors, obviously, because we've got to think of, as I was saying, we have economy of parts to think about being on grid resources. In fact, economy of parts has been my that tell me have just started coming out. This is our opportunity to collect these, but it is risky because sandworms, or worms anyways, spawn on this soft resin. These are not the sandworms of doom, but they do look somewhat similar. We might as well make up our standard band now that we have the resources. We'll place it right here, and we shouldn't have long until we have all the iron bars we need to make, well, the iron gears that we will need for not the lithium coral charger just yet, but for these storage hoppers. First, we're going to need to create the lightweight machine housing crafter, which takes up 16 plates and 8 copper wires. So we got quite a while before we do. We just need 6 each of both tin and copper. So we're going to unlock the standard soft resin here, and we're going to research the automation because we'll definitely need that. As I said before on Chernabog, you can actually get away with early game industrialization up to an equivalent of 4 pyrothermic generators, and then you'll have to start militarizing. And this is running on enriched coal and not on the regular coal that you would dig out early game. So if you were using regular coal, you could get up to 7 of these pyrothermic generators and still be safe. For now, we're going to concentrate on extracting some more resources, and I'll be back with you when we have enough to make our next milestones. So that was just our first milestone, the Cynder plant built, and we've got a long ways to go before we catch up to where we were on Chernabog, but pretty surely we can do it quickly on Cynder Prime, especially considering just how much lithium I have found down there already. We need the extrusion plant before we can actually make our lightweight machine housing crafter. So the solution here is obvious. We have enough of those tin bars to make into an extrusion plant, and we have enough copper bars. But we will need to extract 200 more copper ore and 150 more tin ore in order to make the actual machine. And of course, we have enough power in our research station to research the local life forms, and of course the suit upgrading. We want to get base defense early on so we can militarize, pretty obviously, but we don't need to worry about that for now. So I'm going to go ahead and craft the extrusion plant. Then I'm going to turn 2 more iron bars into 2 more iron plates, and we'll have 2 left to go until we can make our first storage hopper, which is our next major milestone. This is precisely the point where we research the base defense, and straight away we'll unlock the Mark 1 turret, the ray gun version 1, and we'll continue to hold off on the Mark 1 power core charger because it's way too early to actually upgrade the power blocks to Mark 2 and then upgrade them further into those induction chargers just yet. What we will go with is with room building though, and we'll get agriculture as soon as our power recharges. For now, we do need a threat scanner. Early on, we'll need a macerator. We'll need an automatic excavator. We'll take the airlocks, both inner and outer. We'll take the generic room controller, because we'll need all of that to make our rooms. That's just common sense. And I'm going to go back down into the cave and get some more resources, and I'll be back to make some more machinery. At this point we have all the iron we need in order to make our first storage hopper, and we're out of power, so I'm going to have it's a race against time now to get back earlier and get back to base, especially on a seed like Cynder Prime. Now this is a classic game of don't panic that I'm playing here, but you also got to be quite careful. There, we've reached it. All you really need to do is to have sufficient access to your central power hub, or to your power grid if you already have it built. So where was I? Oh yes, what we need to do is place that ore extractor that we took from the iron mine, and place it on the coal deposit that I found fairly close to the base. in time, we will have what we need in terms of copper and tin as well to make the machinery and our milestone itself the proper storage hopper. Now the machinery we still need to make is we need two machines, the lightweight machine housing and the iron gear maker. And we are not far off of that at all. But in order to get to our storage hopper, we need a minimum of 24 tin plates. 27 for considering here. I'll do the math with you. You need 3 tin plates for the extrusion fan and 5 bars for the stamper. This means you need a minimum of 32 tin to make your first storage hopper, and you basically need a minimum of 20 to make your first, where was I? Iron gear. So now that we have the tin that we need for the lightweight machine housing crafter, we'll need 6 more which we need to craft into a lightweight housing to make our iron gear maker, and each of those needs 8 copper wires. So that's really not much of a problem. I'll get back to you when we have the prerequisites. So we now have the power to unlock the agriculture and the laboratories. We will actually need the laboratories fairly soon, but we'll go for the spider bot first, since that's obviously a more urgent matter. We'll also grab the spider bot base component and the work floor excavator, since it's fairly urgent, since if I am not mistaken, it can be used to dig out that resin that's spawning all those worms. We'll also get an the ampule crafter and the ampule dispenser, because we're going to need them in late game. Well, take advantage of what we've found already and dig up some lithium and get some more research points for it, because we really are on a tight schedule, although this isn't rush mode, to progress faster than on Chernabog. Now, as I was saying, this isn't rush mode, but this is a challenge to see how fast I can progress on Cynder Prime compared to the Chernabog series. And with this lithium scan, we've just unlocked the turret Mark II. We have also unlocked Suit Power Pack Mark 1, we'll take that. And we're still going to leave the Mark 1 power core charger for later, because we don't need it yet. What we are going to get is preemptively unlock room aesthetics, regular aesthetics. We're also going to get basic spider bot defenses, anthropological osteology, and the upgraded power grid, and of course the laboratories. The improved all scanning seems to be somewhat redundant, especially when you've got to be resourceful and take economy of parts into account. Now that we've gotten all the tin and the copper we need for the lightweight machine housing crafter, I'll go ahead and make it, and then I'll place it, what the hell, I'll just place it right here, like I usually do. I did this on Chernabog. There's no reason Cynder Prime can't have this wire as well. So what needs to be done is I just need to make one more of these tin machine housings in order to make our first storage hopper. And then after we make our first storage hopper, we can get on to making ore extractor number 4, which we're going to need as soon as we can. And let's see if we can make it before this day is done. So, looks like one of our machine housings is done. I'm going to go down there and collect some more copper because we'll definitely need it. We need 200 ores in total to make the iron gear maker. And there's nowhere near that, so we'll back up. And what do we need next? Check the tin extractor just to ensure that, okay, what's going on? Movement has paused. There we go. So, with 2 of the 3 machine housings that we need, I'll get the copper, and then I'll make the gears, and finally we'll have the storage hopper. At this point we may as well use up some more power and unlock the basic spider bot defenses. We're also going to go for upgrading power grid at least 2 days later, because what we really need is to build up the stationary defenses. I built a perimeter wall at about the exact distance away, the exact size square of what we might need to actually fend off the attacks. I'll also be placing buildings somewhere around the wall. And in a very short while, at long last, we'll have all of the materials we need to make the storage hopper. Last, we have all the materials that we need to make our first storage hopper, all in less than 12 hours. All I've got to do now is process the copper bars into wires and the tin bars into plates. And there we use minimal resources to make the iron gear maker, and by extension, the storage hopper itself. So cool, isn't it? There's just 1 more tin bar to go. Then we can start with extruding the copper into wires. We've got an extra iron bar there, but that's just going to go into, here we go. Now, I don't mind waiting for for the copper to actually extrude into the wires. So, we'll wait, is what we'll do. Because patience is a virtue. Although idle hands are the dark mistress's playthings, we'll see what we can find here that's useful. Of course, slime attractors would be good, and the spider bot blaster, we can take those while we're waiting. We definitely want anthropological osteology early on, because that's going to unlock a hell of a lot of new recipes as time goes on. So definitely get that early on. We'll take the hydroponics bay, because that's going to be good for our greenhouse, or hothouse, whatever you want to call it. Also take the attack scanner, because after all, attack scanners actually give you an accurate time to, here we go, copper wire. Anyways, attack scanners give you a accurate to the second time, estimated time until the attack by the natives. So what we're doing here is I'm going to make the iron gear maker. I'll put it right here, and this is going to have all the iron plates made into iron gears. We'll be back when that's all done. Last we have our storage hopper, and it's barely been 11 hours. So what is our next milestone? That would be ore extractor number 4, and we're going to need 18 more iron for that. So we have 1 at the moment, that's going to be 17 more. We just need 4 copper and 6 more tin, which is not going to take us long at all. We'll have it done before this day is done. I'll go ahead and take the liberty to make a basic conveyor crafter, which should be somewhere. Here it is. And down the line we'll get a regular conveyor crafter. However, that's not going to be viable just yet, need quite a few basic conveyors, and we're going to need a whole lot of copper before we can actually go along with it. After all, the basic conveyors can create 15 basic conveyors per copper bar in the crafter, as opposed to 5 when crafted by hand. And although you can craft a regular conveyor out of two tin plates and 2 copper wires, you'll need half as many plus a basic conveyor to make them with a crafter, which actually translates to less resources used. See, resourcefulness is absolutely key here. So I'll be back once we have the resources to make our second storage. Or I suppose we will wait until we have the resources for ore extractor number 4. Although we may actually be able to make storage hopper number 2 before then. I would actually recommend you go on to ore extractor number 4 so you can ramp up your resource extraction. Eventually you will need some basic, some improved cutter motor, some improved drill motors. Right now the basic ones they have are the economy drill motors, and they are actually good for early game because they use the least power. So yeah, I'll be back with you when we have 18 iron total, we need 6 tin, and we already have the 4 copper wires we'll need for ore extractor number 4. I've actually seen a bunch of other YouTubers who play FortressCraft use this technique, but it doesn't work very well and it looks tacky in general. All they do is they build basic conveyors all the way down to where their ore extractors are situated. The main problem with this, besides the fact that it looks tacky, is that you'll get mine-lock infestations, and I'm not sure mine-lock's the kind of creature you want to mess with early game, because they'll eat your resources up, and they'll actually grow the hive mines, and there's one that is active very nearby. You can see the hollow base hive mind model there. That hive mind is active and it is fairly close to the base. As soon as you destroy the active hive mind, in addition, another hive mind will activate, and it will probably be the next closest one. And at last, at 20.5 hours, we have enough resources to actually make. Oh yes. Ore extractor number 4. I was thinking about making a second storage hopper, but ore extractor number 4 does come first. Now that I think about it. That should be the 18th iron bar that we can carry at this point. We can smelt it now, and it's actually having trouble keeping up with. Power's having trouble keeping up, so I'll be back when I've finally made all the ingredients. As you can see, I've taken the liberty to make another lightweight machine housing of the 16 plates that I had accumulated. Here we go. Making the ore extractor number 4 and placing it at the copper vein, complete with a complementary logistics hopper and a supply line. I didn't actually manage to connect the supply line all the way up to the central power hub. I didn't actually have enough from simple conveyors for that, but I am working on it. Well, that's just about all the time we have for this session, but I'll see you back at FortressCraft Evolve the Hardcore Take 3 walkthrough. So, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Tell me what I could have done better if I wasn't up to your standards, and I hope to see you then.